Hey people, welcome back for another edition of the Jagged Edge. This is Ian here along with Chris.
How's it going, everybody?
Hey, welcome.
We got a lot of show here, a lot of comic book and movie stuff.
Whole lot. With this, just a smidge and just a peep in the window about E3.
Little bit of preview for E3. Of course, that's going to be next week's show, E3. Always, no, not always. Most of the time, a good event.
Well
sometimes
said.
it's really not.
No, it's true. And we'll get to this when we actually speak about it. But this will be one of the most open E3s in years, as far as for access. It's definitely not exclusive.
We talked about that before. They tried to announce a few months ago that this big thing about, we're opening our doors to the people, and I was like, wait a second, you did that. You did that for so long, you stopped doing that, and you made news that you stopped doing it. And now you're doing it again.
Oh, man. But, as Chris is saying, we got a real loaded show. There was a whole lot that happened this week. Not just in terms of politics and world events, but a whole lot in terms of media. Heck, I want to go ahead and turn right to the first one here. Brought this
Let's
up.
get it out of the way. Rip off the Band-Aid.
Because this sucks so much.
Yes, it does.
Adam West has passed away at age 88 after a brief battle with leukemia.
Yeah, I did not even know he was sick. I was really
Same.
shocked. I heard about that this morning. I had no idea.
It's just one of those instances where, there's someone who had a really prolific, fun role. I mean, and he's popped up Family Guy and so many other things, in between. You just, you don't always hear their involvement in like current projects, but that's okay because they've been around in some capacity. But no, this kind of blindsided us.
For those of you who don't know, or those of you who don't even don't watch Family Guy, or don't really watch pop culture at all, Adam West is not the original live action Batman. There was actually a movie before it, decades before, but I would say the definitive first live action Batman from the TV show of the same name, with him and Burt Ward playing Robin. He was the most popular first Batman.
Yep.
Show only ran for 3 seasons, but was huge at one time, going 2 nights a week. I was really surprised. I heard about that sometime last year. I didn't realize it was that big. I mean, I loved the show when I was a kid. I'm even a little bit older than Ian, and we talk about every once in a while how old I am. Did you ever watch that when you were a kid?
Oh, you bet. This was the show that solidified Zing, Pow, Zap.
Right.
Man.
It was kind of crazy, because even it's about 10 years old, and even more than 10 years old when I'm a kid watching that. When I'm a toddler watching that show, it was kind of weird because one of the things it was always famous for back then was at least its really cheesy production and how they would always have those crazy camera angles, which initially started as not being intentional. Did you ever hear about that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, those initially did not start as intentional, but it was always kind of weird because I'd always watch that over at my grandma's house on my dad's side, and her house was kind of slanted like that too. so actually, I remember being young, I was like, this seems fine.
It's all right. I've seen this in a show.
Not the best house that was. In fact, I don't remember her living there for too long during my life, but. Anyways, great show. Obviously influential for a lot of the creators that we have for TV and movies today.
Sure.
Huge, obviously huge. Adam West, though, like many, had a hard time adjusting to finding other roles after such an iconic show.
Right.
But also one of the first people to say, you know what, I'm going to go with it, and just made money off of being Adam West's Batman, and was, I think, one of the first people to really just embrace that and embrace the fandom, and just went with it for decades. He's been doing that ever since.
And the part of the whole idea of, I'm just going to roll with being Adam West is many of his appearances were as Adam West. Whatever else he'd show up on, and that's right. Just fun.
he turned it into a whole thing. He turned it into a franchise itself.
So it was. He's definitely someone who was able to, I think, leverage that type of stardom without coming off as pompous.
Right.
I think that was the really cool part about him, and we can all identify with the old school Batman running with the bomb, or the whole bringing comic books into live action like he did. So rest his soul, bless him, and boy, he had a full life.
Yeah, a couple things that are shocking. That researching this a little bit. One thing I did know. I don't know if you know this or not, but obviously Batman based off the comics, but the TV show is so popular, such a cult following that it spawned its own comic.
I did see that.
There's for years there's been a running of a Batman comic based off the TV show, a continuation of that universe. I didn't know that, and I saw that sometime in the last year or so, and I'm like, oh wow, I had no idea that existed. Where they've been adding on to that, adding characters in like Harley Quinn and others as time has gone on, giving a spin on those characters in that world. Other thing I wanted to bring up, reading about this, I always knew that he wasn't a big fan of some of the darker tones that Batman has taken over the years in live action.
Right.
But I did not know that he considered himself and called himself the Bright Knight instead of the Dark Knight.
Did not know that either.
Yeah, so it was a whole thing, But he talked about his displeasure of that. But I think over time he's made some peace with it, and I think fans have as well. I think fans really ever felt like they needed to choose. Like that's the Batman from that time and what that was like, and this is a different Batman now.
It's kind of cool he was able to represent that. I think DC overall has always had a bit of a struggle with that, with some of its most major and iconic heroes sort of having side by side with one timeline or one dimension really kind of reigning over another, or being able to equivocate them in some way. Like Superman, people talk about like, okay, there's Silver Age, right? And then there's like current, there's like post-crisis and everything like that, but there's only one or two continuums people really acknowledge. Batman, Adam West here, he just lives side by side.
Yeah. I do remember some people complaining about it, but you've heard the same thing too with the Christopher Reeves Superman, and some people comparing it like with Man of Steel, and you don't. Why compare it?
Right.
They're from different eras. It's like you watch the old Star Wars trilogies. People understand that started 40 years ago. I remember talking to somebody who's a little bit of a film buff, and he's like, "Oh man, that looks like something I could make." It's like, well, yeah, you probably could now, because that was 40 years ago. So you probably could.
Oh man.
So you don't, there's no need to compare them. There's such, things such as style and everything, but when the digital age wasn't even a thing,
right?
So yeah, you take them for what they are. Accept them from what they are. So yeah, Adam West passes away. That's a shame. I know he and Burt Ward had even just recently in the last year reprised their role in doing the voices in the animated movie for Batman and Robin. So yeah, obviously an icon.
We missed.
So let me start this one off.
Yeah.
Because this pissed me right off when I saw this. Okay, so yeah, we just saw Wonder Woman last week. We put a review up. Great movie.
Yep.
We both really liked it. We had our complaints, but they're few and far. But Wonder Woman won Trailer of the Year for last year, for 2016. That is utter garbage.
Disagree. I mean, not
disagree that it's garbage.
No, I was about to say not disagree. It's garbage. I disagree with it being Trailer of the Year as well. That's a surprise. To be honest,
it really is. I was shocked as well as pissed. I think shocked first, then pissed.
We were talking about this a little bit before we started up too. I mean, to both of us, there's definitely a film that I believe is more deserving of that. It was also really solid that came out.
Right.
That's Logan. I mean, if anything, that's what I would have expected. It's I think it's one thing to show like a dystopian future, but to raise the amount of questions Logan did, but want to get you involved in that story arc, man. That is an example of a very well done trailer, and more of all, without giving itself away.
Right.
To be fair with Wonder Woman, I think you knew what you were getting yourself into, which you did, which delivered on those very things.
It was a great trailer.
Yeah, it was a solid trailer, solid movie, but with the type of depth something like Logan would bring. I don't know. I can't see it.
Some people have said that they think that it was a better trailer because of the negativity that was coming off of Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad to have a trailer come out that piques your interest so much in the shared universe. I call bullshit on that. If you're someone like us who does commentary on these things and pays attention to these things, Logan equally had a lot of heat coming off of it in this universe for two main reasons. One was the lackluster X-Men Apocalypse that had just come out, but at the same time, for those who follow these things, really quite worried about what this Logan movie was going to be, knowing that it wasn't going to be what it should have been and what it initially was going to be, which was Old Man Logan.
Right.
And how they were going to pull this off.
Yeah, and the extra challenge they face, pulling that off in light of all the events that have happened in that ongoing continuum. This one had been messed around and slung so many directions, between the original X-Men trilogy and the first class series and everything else. So the big question was, okay, how is this based? Where does this sit? We got all that answered.
Yeah, so for people to say all the negativity coming out of the DCEU for Wonder Woman to still grab your interest, I don't disagree with that. But for that to make it a better trailer than Logan, for someone like myself, I have railed against the X-Men franchise on plenty of occasion around here. That's still the best movie I've seen this year, and it still might be the best movie I see when this year's said and done.
It'll be a hard act to top.
That was a great. I mean, that was just a great trailer. I think it conveyed the feel of the movie, the story it's going to try to tell, like you said, without giving away too much.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man.
I was about to say,
I heard more stuff about Spider-Man. I'm not going to bring up any more because I felt like a dunce after we did the show. And I'm like, you know what? We just gave that shit away. Maybe people didn't see that stuff. That was pretty stupid.
Well, it's kind of like crumbs into the mousetrap at this point. I feel
I'm ruining the movie for people while trying to make my point. I don't think that was worth it.
That to be fair, it just shows how much is out there. I mean, you can't help it. You see one thing about this, and it just sort of gives the whole hot air balloon away.
Right, but I'm hearing more stuff now. I'm not going to say it, though.
Yeah.
Actually, this is going to end up in my show notes, but I was like, you know what? No, we got a lot to talk about. I'm not going to ruin it anymore. No. Jeez, we still got almost a month to go here. I'm pretty sure I will know the whole movie before I get there. Settle down, Sony. Settle down.
Will there be any surprises left? Time will tell. Time will tell. But what about for DCEU? I mean, what do you think they're going to have up their sleeve? You had this note about Warner Brothers trying to be a little more cautious moving forward with.
I'm surprised because the last thing I was hearing, they had slated 50+ movies.
Yeah, right?
It was getting stupid. In fact, I went on a rant on that several weeks ago about how they, hey, you guys aren't doing that great. I don't know if you noticed. I mean, you're doing well in comparison to all movies as in a whole, but as far as comic book movies are going, you're not doing so good. You might want to tone it down here a little. That is exactly what I guess they're doing.
Yep.
Warner Brothers is saying, hey, you know what? Let's slow down our roll here just a little bit. Right now, they have 2 movies in production or post-production. That's not to say the dozens, literally, that they've got in pre-production.
Right.
But they've got 2 movies in production, Justice League and Aquaman right now. Aquaman, I believe, is in production. Justice League, obviously, in post-production. They're not going to start anymore until they see Justice League. And they see what everyone's reaction is to it. Which I think is smart.
Yeah, we've said, this is very much not just a group of films, but DCEU period really really trying to find its legs.
Yeah.
Every time they've sort of settled and some kind of continuing things have been little uprooted. I mean, the closest that they probably came was the Nolan films, that direction. But of course, they can't. That cannot be used as a foundation for Justice League and everything else going forward. So I think there's a real look at Wonder Woman, its success that it had recently, but also saying, okay, how do we want to continue to build this? What do we want to make out as person? Hey, you know what? If that leads to a really high quality Justice League or better trailers and a more involved universe down the road, go for it.
It's pretty hard to deny at this point from everything that came out. I suppose it's still a bit of conjecture, but there's been enough that's come out on this that they've said that the overreaction that they had from Batman v Superman is the main reason that Suicide Squad ended up so bad. We got such a bad edit of that movie.
Yeah. It's sad. Is it sad that I can't think of Batman vs Superman without thinking of what was it, Sad Ben?
What's Sad Ben?
Or or Sad Affleck? I forget what the meme is. But
Sad Affleck. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
You just sit there thinking about the piece of shit he just put out. Trying to find the strength within himself to keep lying.
Oh man,
he just make a good superhero movie. That's why he was willing to star and write and direct and produce the next Batman movie. I'll take it all. I'll take it away from everyone else. I will do it. Keep your hands off. I haven't heard anything about that in a long time. Of course, that's kind of what we're talking about right here.
Right.
So yeah, I think this is smart. I mean, that's not going to be for another half a year, though, almost.
Yeah.
So what? So you still got Aquaman in there, and I don't. Maybe that's a hit. I don't know. I have zero interest in Aquaman, but they're going to have Justice League to try to get me interested in the guy whose superpower is talking to fish, and we'll see. Well, they're obviously trying to make more of a edgier Aquaman, which I don't know if that's good or not. We'll see.
Well, that's the kind of funny part, Aquaman, traditional Aquaman that I'm accustomed to is this very, pristine, royalty,
right?
And someone who comes off as so clean cut, noble, as opposed to the kind of grizzled, almost kind of barbarian style dude we got now. Right. That's a real contrast. But I have no idea. I never read the Aquaman comics. I only know a bit about him from far. My dad used to be a huge fan. He used to own all like the Golden Age comics and stuff. So I don't know. Maybe I'll go ask him a bit about it. But I will be approaching this really fresh too. So
yeah, I Aquaman. I've never had any interest in that guy. He's kind of like, what? Who's this guy? Oh, he talks to fish. All right. I suppose that would be useful. The only cool thing, and I'm sure this probably isn't the only thing, but the only thing I can think of that I thought was really cool about Aquaman was what's that giant mythological fish? There's a movie based on it. You know what I'm talking about?
I thought you were heading towards Poseidon for a minute. That's not a. I thought you were talking about gods, but no.
Poseidon, but there's I forget. It's like there's a whole old '80s movies based on, in which I can't. Something with the Titans or something.
Oh, like the Kraken?
Kraken.
Yeah.
I know there was one time in the comic he summoned the Kraken.
Oh, and I'm snap!
Like, that is awesome. He had one trick, and he used it, and that was the shit. That was the stuff. Motherfuckers got the Kraken. That's if he just ran around with the Kraken. All right, now I get it.
I think one of the things that this just from the off base here. Just don't read anything into this, but if Wonder Woman was any indicator at it, I think what they could really do with this is point out his martial skill. He had some pretty hardcore weapons. That is one thing. Like I know his trident was pretty wild. But if they focus on that kind of martial arts direction, like in Wonder Woman, the Amazons really have their own style, their own group of martial arts that they train.
Yeah.
With. I think if they could create some really cool action scenes if they focus on that martial side for him. Who knows? I think that would be awesome.
Or he could just summon the Kraken.
And then that's it. That's all you need.
I mean, that's like not even fun though. That's just a movie ending thing.
Yeah, it is.
Here's the Kraken. You got Medusa's head? No, you're fucked. Here's the Kraken. Movie's over. First act. Kraken.
Oh man.
Gods from outer space coming to kill people. Kraken.
I got a Kraken. Whatevs.
What you gonna do?
The last Kraken summon that I loved was Liam Neeson, and I'm pretty sure that was that Titans movie.
That was the remake.
That was the remake. Yeah,
Revenge of the Titans. Is it Revenge of the Titans? Why don't you talk about it for a minute while I look it up?
Sure. Yeah, he again, I'm sort of off base themselves, but he proudly ran that line, and
Titans.
There you go, Last of the Titans. Liam Neeson's just awesome anyway, but I liked him in that role.
Yeah, no, he was good in that role, which I've never understood why people thought he made a bad Zeus. I'm like, you crazy?
No, what?
That movie was shit, by the way.
Yeah.
It was all right. It was okay for what it was. I think that was back several years ago when they were like trying to integrate 3D and everything.
Right. Oh gosh, don't take me back into. Do you remember what was it, Scorpion King?
Oh God.
I'm sorry, I had to bring it up real quick.
It was so bad. But it was only for like a couple minutes. That's okay. It was. But
that
was in its infancy. That's all right.
We've come a long way. Those are the steps you got to have first. So fair enough.
That's kind of funny. I mean, this isn't on the list, but you bring it up. The Mummy Returns, right? Or Mummy 2, whatever the Mummy movie came out. We decided not to review this.
Yeah.
I don't think we're doing any other movies this month. We're not going to go watch Transformers. Neither one of us want to see this. As much as I love Transformers, and it's in my heart, it really is. It's right there next to Star Wars.
Yep.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of watching Michael Bay just trash this stuff, and so we're not going to review that. It's not so much taking a stance against it as much as personally, individually, we just don't want to see this movie.
Yeah. No, and as far as interest level, I mean, for those who may have been looking for, I think, significant formula change or a huge departure or acceptance of something else, Transformers movie to movie, you don't really get that. I think there's a pretty predictable direction things go, and don't get me wrong, there are some sweet effects, but that is the centrality of what we've got in Michael Bay Transformers. So,
yep,
looks great, shiny, pretty, awesome.
But everything's just wrong.
But yeah, flow wise and everything else, and what we're getting introduced series wise, I can't quite. I just can't get into it enough to do it.
Well, and I think that's kind of just a similar thing for The Mummy. I mean, this is supposed to be the kickoff of the Dark Universe, the monster movies universe. I was thinking about maybe going and seeing it, reviewing it. I was just no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it's okay.
Right.
But it's not blowing anything away. I mean, I want to get behind all this shared universe stuff. I really do, especially this one. We've talked about this. I think it's a great concept. The monster movie is one of the original shared universes, which spanned almost 20 years.
Right.
I think it's a great idea, but I'm just gonna even with Tom Cruise in there, which I give or take, but I respect the fact that he does his own stunts and the man's still alive despite it. Yeah. I don't know. I think maybe we're seeing the whole shared universe trend start to die off already. I don't think it's going to have any effect on some of the successful existing ones. But, I think people are getting a little sick of it. It's like, well, I don't want to commit myself for the next decade to another shared universe. All right, so back to shared universes here.
Speaking of which.
James Gunn, obviously riding off a lot of success of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, kind of got promoted. Kind of, sort of. Is now officially in charge of Marvel's Cosmic Universe section of the MCU, working alongside Kevin Feige. That's huge.
Big deal. A big deal.
Right. I mean, to make an announcement on that, to say it in an interview means, hey, this is something that's getting a lot of attention. I mean, especially if you remember 4 or 5 years ago, people were like, hey, Guardians of the Galaxy, whatever, we'll see how it does. And here we are.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty big. I mean, I'm really interested in a couple characters in the cosmic part of the Marvel universe. I don't get into a lot of them. Nova is the big one.
Yeah.
We saw some shades of that obviously in the first Guardians movie. Darkhawk, one of my favorites. His roots are coming out of the universe, so maybe we'll see that. Probably not. What do you think?
You know, the firstly, I'm really glad to hear that Marvel is so conscious of the way that the universe is not only expanding, changing, but that might need a little bit of extra oversight. As pointed, the whole cosmic side of things. I mean, this is getting huge. For not just because of Thanos. It would be one thing if it just involved him. You could really sort of talk about a extraterrestrial threat or one really big specific galactic threat, and that's it. What Guardians of the Galaxy is pointed to, though, what we've had what's just expanding at such a fast pace is not just 1, 2, 3, 4, but we're talking groups of planets, different groups of people, different solar systems and everything like that. And, even you're pointing at Nova, the potential of other characters like Adam getting involved, and it's just coming to a point now where I think you're really going to need some good oversight over the two, because Avengers, the next Avengers movie, the multiple parts of that are going to be the true melting pot for all this. For one, I'm really looking to see how that's going to unfold and how those are going to come together. I got faith that they definitely can do it. For one, I think there's a lot of hype behind this. My first real hype for the whole cosmic side of things actually started in the first Avengers movie when Tony Stark passed through the gate, the hyperdimensional gate with the nuke, and took it. Of course, this is what caused his PTSD reactions that he has now, and that really threw him for a trip. That still affects him even now, but that just really got me thinking that this is really cool. We're really stepping outside of New York City or just the continental U.S. or just the world. Most hero movies have a difficult enough time keeping the scale of Earth or one world, let alone expanding to a whole cosmic side. And then, that's not even talking about the mythological side. Look at Thor. You've got the whole side with the gods. You've got Asgard. You've got Loki. All these influences. So, at the end of the day, I mean, that's almost 3 massive types of realms that are just getting crushed into one. So.
Where do you think they go with this, though? Because I think the cosmic section of the MCU is great to delve into from time to time.
Right.
But I think this is a very fine line to walk. If they do too much of this, people are gonna get sick of it real quick, and it's gonna end up being too much sci-fi too often. I think
Agreed.
Audiences are going to be able to accept this whole thing with Thanos because they've been building up to it for 10 years.
Yep.
But too much past that, I don't think it'll work. Where do you think it goes 5 years from now?
No, I think very pointed question. And one thing I want to highlight about that too, this was sort of missed in Guardians of the Galaxy, the first one. There was a good freeze frame. I was looking at this the other week of I believe this is when Star-Lord had originally gone to turn in the Infinity Stone to the Collector. They were talking about the known universe and what types of treasures were there, and what type of Infinity Gems existed. There was actually a graph of the forces that invented the Infinity Stones, which were death, entropy, infinity, and eternity. There were 4 of them. And, maybe that's just a film wink. Okay. Maybe you just had that one image and that's it. But I looked at that and I started to think if you take that and now that's expanding the scope even more. So you're going out of Earth, Asgard, everything else, and you're going into primordial forces basically. At that point, it's going to go really, really far away from base. I think the closer they stay rooted into what they've built, I think the stronger. As you said, a peril that you can face with something, anything that spans a lot of movies or whatever else, is it risks wandering off into its own wilderness. And I think that's a serious risk. But if it does go anywhere, perhaps towards some of those forces, talking like Galactus, Silver Surfer level, that kind of thing, or not.
Well, they don't have either of those right now. Those are Fox's at the moment.
Sure.
They continue to make really bad movies with those. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, what do you think? Do you think maybe this is a prelude to Fantastic Four? There's always those rumors that that Disney's talking to Fox about getting the rights back to that. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got Infinity War 1 and 2. Neither of which promise to be solely in a cosmic universe kind of setting. I bet you that both of those will probably have a lot of time grounded on Earth. With the highlights, some of the highlights coming, the peak of that story coming in outer space. But we know we're getting Guardians 3 and 4. But what else? What do you think? What do you think we're going to see? Specifically, what do you think we'll get another Netflix show? Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. looks to be taking place at least somewhat in space next season.
Right. If anything, as far as what you'd see, I would expect actually Netflix to be a really good herald in the meantime, or like even between films or whatever else, because eventually we're finally gonna be through the end of the Avengers films, the settling of Thanos, the Infinity Stones, and while things are semi up in the air at that point, I think there's a whole lot you can pan into Marvel wise. I mean, not even counting Surfer and Galactus and the others that they already have rights to. I think really just zooming out and really showing something like those, like godly forces, and what they can affect. You don't have to have it based around the current characters that we know. It could be loosely based around that. I for one, I'm really looking at the Netflix series to see what they're going to do with that. So,
but what about Nova for you?
Nova, for me, Nova kind of exists in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. That was my first real exposure to the character. I'll be honest, right now, I'm a little more interested in Adam than I am Nova.
Really?
No kidding. I mean,
I would love to see, and we'll not get it. We'll never get it, but I think it would be hilarious to watch in some kind of mini series or regular show fashion, following a group of the Nova Corps doing what they do, or Nova Corps. I'm sorry, Nova Corps doing what they do.
no, I mean,
Almost like cops. But
what that could well run into is something like you tell you what I'd love to see more expanded on, like Miss Marvel, like Captain Marvel.
We're getting. That's right. I forgot all about that. We are getting that.
Yeah, I mean, you're starting to talk about characters that involve not just a crazy skill set, but that they have such a totality of powers involved with them. That's the direction I think you can't help but go when you're getting this large and you're starting to expand like this. You have to start bringing some of those really OP known names in. So we'll see.
All right. Well, so let's bring it back to Earth. Yeah. How you like that? See, I'm learning this.
I like it. But Black Panther, the Black Panther trailer.
This trailer. Did you know this was coming out?
No. This
I
one
had no
really
idea.
This one really surprised me. Kind of caught. I was actually browsing for some news, a little earlier in the week, actually just yesterday, and I was just panning around. I said, "Wait, Black Panther is a new trailer." I said, "Holy crap, sure is."
Yes. First trailer, teaser trailer. What'd you think?
Cool, very cool. The thing that I really dig about Panther is that he has a really interesting royalty storyline. It's not in your traditional sense royalty.
Right.
This is not Thor, Asgard. This is not prince and princess and monarch and whatnot. It's the coolest thing about Black Panther, this was hinted at too in his first appearance in Civil War, was the way he ran his republic, and I think just the scope of responsibility that he has with all the different types of forces and factions within. We're going to get a lot more of that here, obviously, but he plays a pretty delicate political game. You know, he has obviously the roots and ties his family. He has correspondence with the United Nations, and then within his own backyard, right within his own country, he's got obviously a lot that he's dealing with there. We get a couple of really cool hints at that in the trailer. So I think both from the political game and also from just the raw action, because we've seen this guy in Civil War and he's something else. I don't see how this does not entertain or be awesome.
It looked very cool. I'm glad you said all the stuff you just did, because I know next to nothing about the Black Panther. I know more about his MCU version than I do the comic book version, other than knowing that character exists and that his armor is in some way lined or created in part out of vibranium. Did I say that right? Vibranium?
Vibranium. Yeah.
Vibranium. Blah, 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 blah. You know what I meant. I really don't know anything about the guy. This looked very cool, though. I couldn't help but to notice how colorful and how there seems to be a trend going on with these MCU movies now, being a little bit ultra colorful. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, they're just bursting.
Right. I don't mind it. I worry that maybe it's going to get to be too much. But no, we've seen this with Guardians of the Galaxy. We're going to see it with Spider-Man. We've seen it in the trailer for Thor Ragnarok, and now we're seeing it for Black Panther. Very interesting to see. Yeah, it's like this ultra colorful thing. I don't mind it at all. It's very eye-catching. It's very pretty. It's very comic book-like.
Oh, yeah.
It looks like it's here to stay. Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. But you can't help but to notice that. I think we'll see Winter Soldier.
Yep.
I hope so. One things I've heard is that this is out of sync with most of the Marvel Universe and their movies, which take place at the time that they're released. This is actually happening shortly after Civil War, at least in part. So
interesting.
Yeah, another one like that.
Something else you might be interested to hear about Black Panther, and I saw this in relatively recent times. I remember it really took me aback. It wasn't even in the last 5 years. This was like back in 2007 or like 2006, but there was a big Marvel marriage that was announced in the Black Panther comics, and at one point, Black Panther married Storm, the X-Men.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now.
And that was a pretty big deal in terms of power couples and whatnot. Not to say it's going to have anything to do with with the current film, but it's showing that Black Panther himself was never an isolated hero. I was always interested in the nation he ruled and Wakanda, and a lot of that sort of isolated because it's not as known to the actual world how much tech they have and like how much crazy stuff is actually involved from there. But the hero himself, he's had a lot of connections, ranging everybody from the Avengers to X-Men. So he is not a small player. I think he's one that's just not referred to as much, and that's sort of a surprise when he pops up, but it's pretty awesome.
Well, in fact, it says in the trailer that Wakanda is hidden.
Right.
They keep themselves out of the spotlight intentionally.
Which is, I think, arguably, for their benefit. Gives them plenty of room to negotiate.
They've got invincible minerals.
So why would you?
I'd hide that too.
Yeah, why not?
It's like the Batman movie. Give me all of that, and no one else can touch it. let me play with that.
Yeah, I'll
ruin it.
Take that ball and go home.
As well they did, because besides Captain America's shield, the only thing we've seen for vibranium in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Ultron, which actually ended up being the Vision. But look what you did with it.
Exactly
what you're doing. A couple of interesting things. The Claw, I should just say. He's in there.
Yep.
Do you remember him from Avengers 2?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't have a claw yet. Still missing his arm after 5 years. I mean, come on, get a prosthetic or something.
I mean, those exist now. Oh man. Yeah, you got
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, Claw. I was just about to say Agent Ross.
Yeah, from Civil War, which I didn't. The guy was familiar. I'm like, wait, yeah, he's from Civil War, and I had to look up his name.
Right. Which is great in terms of continuity. One neat choice that they've made here, I think, keeping Black Panther closely involved with MCU, and I think why we won't really see him pop up in the Netflix series is this is interesting. Black Panther at one point had a run alongside Daredevil. He got an invite to right in the middle of the city, Murdoch, to help become a protector of Hell's Kitchen, and he accepted it. He actually joined. So I don't think that's necessarily a cardinal sin. That, oh my God, maybe no Netflix involvement or involvement with Daredevil. That's fine because he's got the roots and connections to really been part of so many groups. That doesn't matter. And the coolest part here, I love Marvel's selection here. He really could have been done either way. I think he could have been pretty solid in a Netflix series, but overall, he's gonna be, I think, bigger, badder, more awesome here in MCU. So,
Sure.
time will tell.
So yeah, no, this looks really cool though, and just taking it from the trailer itself and how it was edited and the score that went with it, is very excited. I'm much more excited for Black Panther than I was.
Yeah.
This was kind of seeming to be like, I don't really know this character. I mean, yeah, he was fine in Civil War. Didn't feel like he really quite earned his own movie. I knew there was one coming out though. But this looked awesome. It was like, all right, I'm on board. I'm on board. Look, you got a whole bunch of you've got tribal stuff going on here, and crazy people jumping off of cars that are flipping backwards, and the score was awesome. Everybody looked pretty badass. Yeah. I think this is this the last one before Infinity War Part 1?
Let me pull up.
I was trying to look it up while you were talking here, and I lost it. I didn't get it done in time. We've talked about this before.
We did. So we've got. Let's see. This is phase 4. No, I could have that wrong.
No, not yet.
No. We still got a little more in line. Obviously, there's Thor Ragnarok, Ant-Man and the Wasp. You got Captain Marvel.
Is Ant-Man and Wasp before Infinity War?
I'm actually just seeing the list, but I did not see it placed chronologically. Let me. I'm not sure if that's out there. Let me pull up the timeline. Back here, I got it right here.
Riveting stuff here, folks.
We'll get it one of these days.
I had this once. I had it favorited where it was this awesome timeline of everything that had happened, will happen, but I lost it.
They've posted this a few places, but the trouble is the image itself is really, really, really small. A lot of the places that I find it.
All right. Well, we can drop it.
Well, yeah, we might have to dig this one back up at some point. But oh well.
All right, it's near there.
We'll get it.
It's one of the last ones. Just kind of interesting that I guess that we're gonna lead into, or close to lead into, Avengers: Infinity War with Black Panther. But whatever.
Right.
I trust them. I trust Marvel. They've earned it. They've earned the trust here. So I trust that they know what they're doing here. Okay.
Good stuff. Moving.
E3.
Right along. Yep. E3 is right around the corner. People, I know summer is. I love this phase of summer because we got E3, you got EVO, the World Fighting Game Championship, you got DDQ, Games Done Quick, for charity. Tons of stuff happening, but usually E3 is the big preliminary pointer to all of that. As Chris was saying, sometimes that precursor is really exciting, other times not. Most of the time, personally, when I look at E3, I look at it in hindsight. Wait for all the announcements to come out because there's always a whole lot happening. Not get too involved in the E3 pre-party. It'll be what it'll be. Usually, you just have a bit of a showcase of some of the tech coming out and everything like that. But there actually has been there have been quite a few things announced ahead of E3. Of course, naturally you'll see this stuff on the show floor more, but I just do want to make note of a couple of them that I think might be pretty big, or that you're going to be seeing some more about in the coming days. That first one is a big trailer for Lord of the Rings. It just came out Thursday. It's called Middle Earth Shadow of War. And this one is actually right on the heels of a...
Is that Shadow of War or I'm sorry to interrupt. Shadow of War or Shadow of Mordor?
So I believe Shadow of War. Shadow of Mordor was actually the pre-game to this. It came out in 2014. And actually that got really, really good reviews. That was pretty well accepted. And this looks like a pretty equally large game as far as what it's going to cover and scope of it. I never played this one myself. I've never really gotten to the whole Lord of the Rings continuum much after the movies. But it is set to be a pretty big game. I know, just reading about it a little bit, the devs are sort of calling this that they're trying to create sort of like this is like the World War II to present time span that they're trying to build up. And
I was gonna watch this trailer for this, but it's restricted. Apparently it's that gory.
I mean, you need to see if you're old enough. I mean,
I'm not old enough.
I thought you were underage, so.
I have to log in here. I wasn't logged in.
No.
You keep going though. I'm just checking this out while you're talking.
Yeah,
about it.
take a look. Take a look as I go into it. It's kind of odd too, because in the previous game it took some places, locations, characters, and everything from Lord of the Rings, but you can't fit it right into Lord of the Rings. There were things that were shifted around. In fact, some characters that were made just for that game, just this universe. And in a recent IGN interview, events, places, characters from the books are going to be used, but this is going to be placed a little bit closer to, I think, some of the events of like Hobbit, the emphasis on Sauron being driven out, returning to Mordor, and that's where this story is going to pick up too. So if you're looking for like a canon, like some kind of supplement to add on to the books, I wouldn't quite go that far. But there's a lot of similarity here and a lot of things that would fit roughly in time. You know, the thing I instantly think of was Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. I remember when that came out back in Nintendo 64. I didn't fit that directly into Star Wars Continuum, right? But again, characters, locations, timeline, time frame, and place, all those worked out.
This looks pretty cool. What kind of game is this again?
This was I believe this is a third person free roamer. And I thought this was going to turn out a lot more like Morrowind or something like that at first, but again, I haven't actually played any.
Free roam, is it an RPG or is it kind of a hybrid action?
Definitely more of a hybrid.
Okay.
But it's and again, I base a lot at the previous one. I mean, the last one literally was an action RPG. It's going to be staying on those lines too. Very story driven, focused. I know there's a specific system people got pretty hyped up about. I know nothing about this, but just the early preliminary research I'd done about, there was something called the Nemesis system that was the original feature of first game, where every enemy player's face is a unique individual. Then they're differentiated further by personality, strengths, and weaknesses. Then all your enemies get actually shaped by their encounters with the player, and then that actually builds up, and that creates like arch nemesis based off of that. So you have this whole system of really evolving enemies that you fight against. I guess it's pretty cool. That's supposed to be returning in this title, this entry, with some even bigger bulk to it. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, it looks very pretty.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in the reviews in this one. I don't actually release on it yet, but really recent trailer. Again, just released on Thursday. Fans will probably be happy about that. Today, actually, there is a stream going on over on Twitch and YouTube. This is for EA, Electronic Arts. The two of the big games being touted: Star Wars Battlefront 2, and also an unannounced open roaming Star Wars game. Don't know what that's about. The fact that we're coming out of Star Wars Week and everything else, but okay, really with Star Wars, I'm happy enough for the movies we've got. Of course, I'm waiting for this December. Cannot wait for our next mainline installment. But let's look at it through history. We've had so many Star Wars games, so many games based off of some loose movie plot points. I'm not putting a whole lot of stock in these.
Battlefront 2 is going to be awesome.
That should be big.
Yeah. I've already been called out by my nephew. I have to buy it and destroy it. So
I think less the whatever open roaming title they're going to announce than Battlefront. I've never even played Battlefront 1. I
skipped out on it just because it didn't have a story. This one promises to have a really good story,
Cool.
which will be a part of canon. I had not heard about an open world one. I knew they were creating a VR game that was very open world, but all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Star Wars has not had the best of luck when it comes to their RPGs.
No.
I say that an Old Republic is still going, but
Right.
It's certainly not what they wanted it to be.
And it's no like Star Wars Galaxies from the start. Like, man, that had a cult following to it. But
Battlefront will be awesome.
Cool. Looking forward to see what the reviews of that are going to be. I know the first was pretty prolific. One I'm not going to play myself, but maybe
I will tell you how awesome it is.
Tell me. You have to film me.
I will record me beating the shit out of my nephew in that game. I'll share it with you. I will share his tears and his whining as Uncle Chris gives him no mercy.
That's going to be a lot of salt.
He was kind of a little bitch to me when he was calling me out, so I'm going to show him.
Oh, you owe him. You owe him then. Go for it.
Yeah, he really put himself in a corner, so it's going to be like, all right, here we go. Uncle Chris didn't forget.
Other than what we have with Star Wars Middle Earth and rest, we got their streams lined up besides today, going in tomorrow, Monday and Tuesday, leading all the way up to E3 itself, starting on the 13th. Tomorrow is really going to be based for Xbox, Scorpio, some Halo announcements, potentially. That's what's being floated right now. Don't know.
This is all still pre-show stuff, right?
It's all pre-show.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it says E3 is actually the 13th to the 17th.
Correct. So
Right.
all of it, there's just this whole to do. I'm really looking at this from just skimming this. I'll wait till actual E3 till we get full.
We'll be bringing the highlights and stuff. Next week, and that's going to be the focus of the show next week.
Yeah, and for these, there's really not going to be a whole lot. It's just if you want to catch it, just know the footage is out there. Monday and Tuesday. I know Monday's supposed to be more dedicated to Sony. Nintendo's supposed to have a spot on Tuesday, and then we're going to launch into the whole thing. So
I can't wait to see the Nintendo booth.
Oh, I know you've been waiting for that Switch info. I mean, well, maybe you've been waiting to gnaw into it. Put it like that.
Sorry, I'm going to have to rephrase what I said earlier. I'm going to make my nephew and Nintendo my bitch. E3. Hey, you know what? What's some of your favorite things that have happened at E3?
Well, I mean, in recent years, the thing I'm always looking for from E3 are the big announcements. Large, major games or major console announcements. There's a few I'll never forget. Of course, the PlayStation 3 price announcement. That got memed all over the place.
I think if I can just interject on that.
No, go ahead.
I think the PlayStation 3 announcement as a whole was as great as it was bad.
Yeah.
Because they did fabricate a bit on that. That was the whole thing. What was that game? Killzone. Killzone 2.
Right.
And they're like, that's all in-game graphics, which it was, but they had done some post-rendering.
Yep.
Not a lot. And now have you ever played that game? You ever played that Killzone 2?
I have. Yep.
Yeah, it's actually pretty damn good. It's a really good game.
That's fun.
But yeah, I think the whole announcement with the PS3 was huge, and it's like, oh my god, this thing is unreal. And then it didn't quite live up to the hype, and then it was like the $10,000 price tag. And everyone was like,
Yeah, that's what nobody can unsee or forget.
Beginning of the Great Recession. That was an awesome idea.
Oh man. In recent years, hey, I was riding the hype train. I got swept up with it when the FF7 remake got announced. That was, man, seems like forever ago now, but I thought that was a great E3. Yeah, well, it was years, but that was a huge E3 moment, and that's the kind of stuff I think that people get even pre-hype for. You know, whether it's a big hardware announcement or whether it's a big game announcement, things like that.
Well, that was part of, and even going back even further, going back to what we were just saying, that was part of the hype for the PS3. It was they put together that
what was it? If I recall it right, the technical demo trailer. Hey,
yeah,
this is what FF7 would be like if we chose to do it on PS3. What a troll!
Yeah,
and of course, we would never see it pop up on PS3. You know what? At this rate, you might not even see the whole thing on PS4. But
nope. PS5.
Yeah, though I think we'll at least get part 1. So on PS4, I can't say for the rest. I have no idea what's the time frame, and who knows.
Jesus. Part 1. I'm going to sound old here, which is fine. I'll accept it. 20 years ago, when Final Fantasy VII came out, and it was on 3 discs, it was all just one game you bought. And it was $50. Actually, I think was that 60? Was that one even? It was 50 or 60.
I don't know if I want to say 50.
Yeah,
because for them that was like whoa.
Guess what? When part 1 was over, you popped in part 2. And I didn't have to wait half a year, or in this case for Square Enix, 10 years for part 2 to come out. They are gonna fumble this so badly.
Yeah. I mean, this is holding the audience and holding interest is going to be contingent on rigorously adhering to a release. The question is how, where, and if they're going to do that. That's what's in the air right now. That's actually what I'm worried about.
There's no reason for this. That's the whole thing. There's no reason for these multiple parts and release method. There's no reason. I hope hopefully sometime soon some big Final Fantasy fanatic just tells me off and how wrong I am in all this. Because tell me why it needs to be in multiple parts.
According to Square and taking them from their very own words.
I didn't mean you.
Hey, I'll do it. No, okay. I will play devil's advocate in that. And I'm for one thing that I'm not one that's rigorously adhering to this, but this is what's on the books. They say that because each part is scaling to be about as big as FF13 each, that for the scale, for the development scale, the cycle, and everything else needed, that's why they're needing to break this into parts.
That's garbage.
And part of me says if you're going to do that, just make a multi-disc release at first. It's fine.
See, that I understand. As far as as far as the amount of actual space you need for your game, like physical space, now that makes complete sense.
Right.
But nobody wants this game to be that that big and long. I remember when people they would max out the time on Final Fantasy VII because you'd go into the options screen and it would show you how long you've been playing the game.
Right.
And some people would max it out. I'm like, you're nuts. You're crazy. So, but I don't. What the?
Yeah, it's just
as far as actual physical space needed for your game. That's fine. Yeah. But they've conquered that years ago by putting it on a second disc or a third disc. Or what was it? Final Fantasy VIII was 4 discs, wasn't it?
It sure was.
And they still couldn't find the space in there to let people use items.
For me at least, let's look at this a minute. How cool would it be in this day and age with how large like Blu-ray disc storage and everything, and how much we can pack in, if you got a multi-disc game again? What would you think of that?
I would think that maybe they need to not be kind of ridiculous about it. Whatever. I mean, if they need it, they need it. I guess would have to have the context.
Yeah.
The context here, the actual content. I mean, the content of why. That sounds a little ridiculous. I think that's a bit unnecessary.
Yeah.
Well, without the content in front of me, I really can't say otherwise.
That's the thing. The one real spot I see here and what they're doing with part one is, if you're really actually going to build Midgard to scale, and every slum and every sector and every part of Shinrai HQ, that is insanely huge in and of itself. Because that is Midgard is its own contained world. It's a capital for a reason. In the Seven universe. So I'm looking forward to all of that and actually being able to maneuver the streets and all the slums and the train stations and everything. That's a big deal. I think if you copy that scale for other locations, Junon, Port Town, and like all the other big locations in Seven, okay, that could expand pretty fast. As I was saying, Midgard's going to be a spot we visit a lot, and that's going to be a hog in and of itself. The majority, a good portion of the beginning of the game takes place there anyway. A lot of people think that part one is literally going to be Midgard, and it'll end once we escape Midgard. And then plus they're going to be taking their own liberties and expanding throughout. So who knows? So, but
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry. This is going to be bad.
Could be an epic fumble. Hey,
it is going to be one of the most epic of fumbles. And I will gladly eat my words, every single one of them, if I'm wrong. I will gladly do it, but I have no faith in this project.
Fair enough.
Whatsoever. Now, you and I, we've talked about this on multiple occasions, but I have no faith. I have no faith in this. I have hesitation for a lot of what I think are valid reasons to be worried about how this is going from an artistic point of view, from a gameplay point of view, from a production point of view. Yeah. As
still someone who's optimistic, I'm hoping you can eat birds. I really am. I want you to be able to eat those.
And I will only need one disc to eat them. Because there's not so much gameplay in my eating of the words that I will need 2 or 3 or 4 discs.
Well, you might have a problem eating words, but there's something else that I think you might be able to eat a little easier. I don't know. It depends on your appetite for it.
This segue is horrible, sir, and I'm just going to kill it.
Right there. So.
You tried, but I had to kill it for you.
A sauce made from flying ants. That's why I say this. There is a... this is in... it's going to kill me in pronunciation here. Oaxaca City in southern Mexico. There is a teacher and chef named Gabriel Hernandez Cruz, who is one of the many participants who captures these large flying ants who literally come in swarms. They call them chicatanas. They do their nest, take to the skies, and these are caught in large droves and actually grinded into a sauce mixed with peppers and a very large blend. This is something that's been served as commonplace in Mexico back since Mesoamerican times. Also something that has always been above food scarcity, poverty, things of that nature, but it's something free. They come through and they're swept up into a large, put in a large griddle called a cornel, and it's a delicacy. This actually isn't something that's widely distributed. In fact, it goes to the town's most exclusive restaurants. It's just, one of those things. It reminds me of the Travel Channel, or when you Man vs. Wild or whatever else, you see people eating spiders or that kind of thing. The funny thing about this is you wouldn't even know that this was a treat. Grinded in. Right. You would, yeah, but you wouldn't even know with this mix that's essentially like grinded ants. Apparently it's delicious, it's nutritious, it's high in protein, and hey, have
you ever had it?
Sex. I have not, and I don't have any way of having it.
I coughed there from gagging.
Yeah.
I'm just listening to it. It's like, before you even got there, I'm like, gosh, this reminds me all the times when people go somewhere exotic and they eat a bug. It's like, hey, it's a treat. It's a delicacy. Bullshit. Grinded up flying ants.
In the sauce.
You can polish a turd, but it's still a turd.
I wonder if if either one of us had it without this context in that background, and if you actually enjoyed it, and then if you were told what it actually was, how much that would actually change your mind.
I don't think so, because I mean, they would have to grind that pretty extensively for it to not be even slightly chunky or leggy or wingy. I mean, that's got to take a serious blending. I mean, there's got to be chunks to it. You're gonna notice,
right? So, hey, it's I think the name for it was it's a contemporary twist. I think this is often added with like a mix of baby corn, like mayonnaise. It's like a twist on elotes. As I was reading through this earlier in the week, I was like, wait, tamales? No. I honestly have no idea, and I am no.
I think it's okay. I don't think anyone's gonna I don't think anyone's gonna go out and Google search this stuff.
No.
I think this one's kind of dead in the water. I think it's interesting. It's interesting, which is why we have the info minute, Ian's info minute. But no, this one's not gonna get any hype. I think this one's gonna just kind of sit here.
Fair enough. I don't think many people wouldn't really look at the others anyway. I mean, what was it like? Our minerals and some of the others.
You don't think, dude? I have Google searched most of your info minutes.
Well, that's you.
Well, yes, and I'm dumb.
You're weird. So I'd expect that.
But I am not weird enough to eat flying ants. All right.
That's all. That's all I got.
Okay, that is enough.
Oh man. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Of course, always remember you can drop us a line, a like, a favorite, comment, or subscribe, and of course you can email us at any point. I hope you enjoy watching E3. If you tune in for that, we will catch you next week with our post-show E3 coverage, talking about all the different releases, everything that came out, what we liked, what we hated, and everything in between. But till then, have a good weekend. We'll see you next time.
See ya.